You may say, I'll believe it when I see it, but abundant people say, since I see it, people will believe it. Abundance is the reward for certainty because abundant people think backwards. When working backwards, your emotional appeal to the vision is what carries that vision forward because you're working backwards. Ethos is your credibility to have the vision. Pathos is your emotional appeal to carry the vision. And logos are the logical details that sell the vision. You need all three in order to become abundant. When you tell your story, it's necessary for you to have that emotional appeal when it's so far into the future that it doesn't make sense. The emotional appeal for my first friend was his unwavering connection to an honest future. His ethos, obviously, is he was a former journalist and a Princeton writer who happened to study computer science, and his logos was that AI will be a thing. How do you counter it? But his appeal to the masses was, what if you could keep a world honest when people generate their truth? He told such a vivid story of what was possible when coming up with the idea, sheerly through pathos. That singular vision of an honest future is what allows for his team to believe in him, his investors to believe in him, and the world to believe him when he goes to the NBCs and the CBSs and the ABCs, and everybody recognizes him as a visionary. He worked backwards, to be clear. The emotional appeal to the future means that he saw the future and worked backwards by telling the story of what would happen. Second person I have, the hedge fund manager, is now worth an ungodly amount of money. It's different when you're working with a fund because funds are all based on math. You have to underwrite every opportunity, meaning calculate the risk, calculate the return, and then you tell your story to make sure that the person who's buying a business or a stock or an oil or a commodity is the right person to be a good steward of their capital. To sell that, it just means you have to have the emotional appeal to tell the story of why you matter. Once you start telling the story around why you think certain investments are going to do well and how you're going to connect to that through all of your being, and in 5 years, the sort of world that you can create because of it, people really give you the chance once the math adds up. And he was so passionate in the idea of studying history and not taking a quantitative approach to public markets, but instead understanding the psychological, political, and macroeconomic details that connected to a bigger vision, that when he started telling the bigger vision, everybody believed him. Some people, they say, have the look in their eye. That look is not only conviction, it's abundance, the limitless possibility of what's coming. I am a byproduct of the 5 closest people around me. Fortunately, the 5 closest people around me are abundant. So what does that make me? I have no choice but to believe in a future vision and work backwards to get to where I want to be. I believe that this world can become more efficient, and I believe that I have the best possible chance out of anybody I've ever known to do it at a greater scale. I have this unwavering abundance about me because I've seen it flow through me. And once you start tapping into that abundance, it becomes abundantly clear that you're telling the truth. There's such a massive disconnect between what people live today and where people will be in 5 years. And if you could think about that from the future and make it an emotional appeal to the now, you can bring things to the future with your pathos. Pathos is a superpower. If you use it to tell your story looking backwards, you've seen the future. You know what's coming. You have this picture in your mind that is so obvious that nobody else can see yet today. But if you believe it with unwavering conviction and you tell your story with any sort of emotional appeal, then your credibility and your logic will make the first believers believe in you. The difference is you must believe in it in the first place and tell it with your heart, because nothing else will stand out as much as the way you tell your story. People will never forget the pathos and the power behind your story when you tell it with an emotional appeal. So just to be clear, abundance is the reward for certainty because most people can't think backwards. My question for you today is, what makes you this convicted with everything in your being? And why not start pursuing it with everything you have? Because once you tell that story with the reason why you're doing it, the logic and the credibility become obvious and the world believes you.